apologize. I'm going to ask the chairman to hold another hearing on this. Okay, you've got some consultants and they've developed models. I get that part. They haven't been tested. We haven't. You've done no rule. You've done no public comment. Nobody has been allowed to weigh in. Policyholders have no idea what you're talking about. You know what I've discovered about consultants and predicting the future? For every consultant, there's an equal and opposite consultant. And oftentimes they're both wrong. And a lot of them their accuracy is about as good as those late night psychic hotlines on TV. And you've done this in secret.
Yeah.
And it's not right.
Well, sir,
we don't know whether you've considered other alternatives. As Senator Menendez, I'm almost done, Mr. Chairman, as Senator Menendez talked about. Are we paying the insurance companies too much? Is 30% off the top too much? Why aren't we doing a better job of requiring people who are supposed to have insurance to have the insurance? What about some of these consultants that I've talked to FEMA about that you could persist in hiring? They're thieves.
Yes, sir. So
none of this has been addressed.
All good points. Look forward to having further discussion with you on all of it. I know how important the National Flood Insurance Program is to your state. Over the past 16 years, there have been 260,000.
But I want you to understand, Mr. Morrison, because I'm going to get cut off. In my state, we're not talking about a bunch of wealthy homeowners who have a second and third beach house. These are working people. They get up every day, they go to work, they obey the law, they try to do the right thing by their kids, they try to save a little money for retirement. Their biggest investment is in their home, and now you're doing this to them without explaining it to them?
This will
and we wonder why Congress and the federal government ranks and polls right up there with skim milk?
Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most intense Senate exchanges you've probably never seen. Louisiana Senator John Kennedy tore into FEMA officials over a program that could impact millions of Americans. Risk Rating 2.0. Now I know, flood insurance doesn't sound exciting. But when your home's on the line and premiums spike with no explanation, that's when it becomes very real. Let's break down what happened, and why it matters to you. If you're liking how Kennedy's putting Washington on blast, go ahead and click that subscribe button. We cover moments like this all the time.
Senator Kennedy from Louisiana is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Morstad, for being here today. You're not clairvoyant, and I'm certainly not clairvoyant. So I can just share with you what I've observed so far. I think with respect to Risk Rating 2.0, I think you're presiding over a tire fire. I think the rollout of Risk Rating 2.0 looks like a ferret fire drill. I mean, here's what I hear FEMA saying. We created this program in 1968. FEMA has the authority to assign premiums. We, FEMA, I hear you saying, all these years have been doing it wrong. We've been assessing risk wrong. And now we, FEMA, have had an epiphany. And we have figured out how to look at every individual property out of all the properties in the United States of America and assign the risk for that particular property. But we're not going to tell you how we're going to do it. In fact, we're going to require the insurance companies who are implementing Risk Rating 2.0 to sign a gag order. We're not going to promulgate a rule. We're not going to allow for public comment. We're just going to do it because we're smarter than the people who pay the premiums. And we're smarter than the United States Congress. Now, I need you to explain to the policyholders of America right now not in gauzy platitudes, no disrespect, Mr. Administrator, but I feel strongly about this. Because you're not waiting. You're going to pull the trigger in August. I need you to explain to them this epiphany that FEMA has had and how if you look at a particular property, you're able now to assign with specificity and accuracy flood risk when all these years you did it wrong. Tell me what you did wrong and tell me now why it's going to be accurate.
So fundamentally, the methodology is different. Previously, we looked at rating policies based on a zone.
I get that part. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I only have 5 minutes. I get the part, you're saying I can look at Senator Brown's property now that we've had this epiphany and we've talked to consultants and know specifically on his property what the risk is. How? What new factors are you considering? How are you going to do it?
So we don't have much time, and I would just point you to the document that we put on the website that in essence is the same as an insurance rate filing that a private insurance company would provide to a state insurance commissioner that would be able to validate the methodology associated with the rates that they were going to charge. So I would...
How are you going to do it?
So that document shows how, and explains how we do it. We, in essence, the simplified form would be, we're using 3 different commercially available CAT models. We've developed 2.
Who developed the models?
One of them is AIR, one of them is CoreLogic, and the other is CAT risk. We combined that with 2.
Has the public, well, I'm sorry, go ahead, excuse me.
We combined that with 2 government-developed, FEMA-developed CAT models, and then we added replacement cost information that we get from CoreLogic that all the regular insurance companies
Let me stop
use.
you because I got 30 seconds, and I'm sorry, Mr. Morstead. I really apologize. I'm going to ask the chairman to hold another hearing on this. Okay, you've got some consultants, and they've developed models. I get that part. They haven't been tested. We haven't, you've done no rule. You've done no public comment. Nobody has been allowed to weigh in. Policyholders have no idea what you're talking about. You know what I've discovered about consultants and predicting the future? For every consultant, there's an equal and opposite consultant. And oftentimes they're both wrong. And a lot of them their accuracy is about as good as those late night psychic hotlines on TV. And you've done this in secret.
Yeah.
And it's not right.
Well, sir,
we don't know whether you've considered other alternatives. As Senator Menendez, I'm almost done, Mr. Chairman, as Senator Menendez talked about. Are we paying the insurance companies too much? Is 30% off the top too much? Why aren't we doing a better job of requiring people who are supposed to have insurance to have the insurance? What about some of these consultants that I've talked to FEMA about that you could persist in hiring? They're thieves.
Yes, sir. So
none of this has been addressed.
All good points. Look forward to having further discussion with you on all of it. I know how important the National Flood Insurance Program is to your state. Over the past 16 years, there have been 260,000.
But I want you to understand, Mr. Morstead, because I'm going to get cut off. In my state, we're not talking about a bunch of wealthy homeowners who have a second and third beach house. These are working people. They get up every day, they go to work, they obey the law, they try to do the right thing by their kids, they try to save a little money for retirement. Their biggest investment is in their home, and now you're doing this to them without explaining it to them?
This will
and we wonder why Congress and the federal government ranks and polls right up there with skim milk?
Risk Rating 2.0 will assist exactly the people that you're talking about. 2/3 of the homeowners that have pre-firmed subsidized homes are going to see a reduction in their premium. Currently, low-value homeowners.
80% of my people
currently low-value homeowners are subsidizing high-value homes. This program addresses the concern that you have.
But you got to explain why, Mr. Morstead.
Back to the CAT
There's a
model.
lot of distrust of Washington. You've got to explain why. You can't hide your consultants. You've got to be in front of God and country and policyholders. You've got to say, this is the methodology. Now let's test it through debate.
So let's clear the consultant issue up, first of all. FEMA's been working on this for 5 years, thousands of hours. It's probably not a well-known fact, but FEMA has some of the best flood catastrophic actuaries in the country.
Then we ought to test them in public.
They are top-notch.
Then they ought to come. They ought to be
addition,
tested
with
in public.
top data
They ought to be
experts.
cross-examined.
In addition to, we did use 3 CAT models, the same CAT models the reinsurance industry uses to price their product.
Then why is FEMA trying to hide all
We're not hiding.
Please wrap up.
We're not hiding
Answer,
anything.
Senator Kennedy.
I told you he was going to cut me off. Then the FEMA shouldn't hide. They shouldn't hide your work. Show your work.
We've posted
Show your
more
work.
information on the website than what's ever been posted before. I point you to our
right.
website where state
That's
profiles.
the answer. That's the answer. A website.
Well, sir, and we've done 450 stakeholder engagements since March 1st.
Why did you make?
Senator Kennedy, your time's expired. You've gone over 8 minutes, Senator, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you again, Mr. Administrator, for being here. You referenced in answering Senator Tillis's question a private company that had quarterbacked this for you that is also a consultant to other insurance companies. What private company is that?
The Milliman.
Milliman.
Yeah, and they didn't spearhead this. They worked for FEMA in helping us make sure that we are in line with the way that a private sector company would go about achieving a modern, risk-based, actuarially sound rating system.
Right. And how much did Milliman charge FEMA?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Was it 10 million?
I'll have to get back to you.
You don't know?
I will get back to you.
Okay. Was it more than 10 million?
I'm not going to guess, sir.
Oh. Okay. Why didn't FEMA allow for public comment? If you've had this epiphany and you've decided that after all these years you've been doing it wrong, and Milliman has now shown you how to do it correctly, why would you not subject that to public comment?
So not to be argumentative with you, sir, I mean, we weren't doing it wrong for all those years. It was just a different time and a different way in which to fundamentally price insurance. When it was determined that we had inadvertently
I can
over
interrupt
the years.
you. Why haven't you allowed for public comment?
We've put, as I said before, we've made all the information available. We're charged with the responsibility.
Yes, sir.
Charged with the responsibility of developing a risk-based, actuarially sound, site-specific pricing methodology. That's what you've told us to do, and that's what we've done.
But by your own admission, this 200 pages report that you put on your website, I wrote down what you said here. You said you have to be an actuary to evaluate it. Did I misunderstand you?
No, sir. I mean, you wouldn't have a plumber do an appendectomy either. I mean, it is done on the basis of the way in which a rating filing.
Don't you want people to understand the change?
So there are other tools that we've also put on the website. Also, we've put a fundamentals of the risk rating 2.0. We've put a video on there. We've put the so we've provided that information also, in addition to all the stakeholders that assist us in communicating our program.
Is Milliman going to put in a toll-free number where people can call and say, okay, here's my house at 26 Main Street, Bucksnort, America. You increased my premiums, because premiums are going to go up by 80%. They are. I mean, you might as well be honest with people.
No, premiums go up right now, an average of about 10% a year, not 80%.
And as I understand what you're saying is, Milliman, in its wisdom, has decided they can look at a property and decide the risk in an absolute sense, and you can't increase premiums immediately to achieve a premium commensurate with that risk, because Congress has stepped in and said, look, You got to consider your customers, for God's sakes. That's who this is for. So you're going to have to do it gradually. But will I be able to call Milliman's and say, Milliman's, you've now been able to assess the risk, and you can look 20, 30, 40, 50 years in the future and see it. Can you tell me what my risk is and how long I'm going to have these premiums? And by the way, could I get your advice about the stock market, if they're that good?
So I maybe have not been clear. Milliman did not do what you just articulated.
That's not what I hear.
Well, then
I hear Milliman fathered this child.
No, they did not. And we used multiple sources, and it was led by the FEMA chief actuary. And so FEMA drove this process. Milliman supported us in this endeavor.
Last question. A lot of people buy insurance because they have to. I'm glad they do. They should buy it. The mortgage lender says, yep, it's in place, let's close on the loan, and they drop the insurance. To follow up on Senator Warren's question, why don't we do a better job of requiring our mortgage lenders to do their job to make sure that people keep their insurance?
Sure, and of course, the mortgage lenders are responsible for that, and they're regulators, and we do want people to have the coverage and keep the coverage. And as I indicated to you before, I want to continue to have discussions with you because I know how important the NFIP is to Louisiana. There have been 260,000 claims paid to Louisiana policyholders to the tune of $17.7 billion to help those policyholders on the road to recovery over the course of the last 15 years. So I want this program, and it will work for Louisiana in the future as it has in the past.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy.
Senator John Kennedy said out loud what millions of Americans feel, that the government is making life-changing decisions in the dark. Risk rating. 2.0 may be well-intentioned, but if it's hidden behind secrecy and consultant speak, nobody trusts it. This story isn't just about Louisiana. It's about every homeowner in a flood zone. And this fight, it's just getting started. If you believe in transparency and accountability, hit that like button. Drop a comment. What do you think about FEMA's plan? And don't forget to subscribe for more straight talk from DC and the real world. Until next time, stay informed, stay vocal, and don't let them roll out a tire fire in your backyard. See y'all next time.